Welcome back to the tea party. We're not quite all mad here yet, and this is part 2 of trying to gild a book. At least I think that's what it's called. If you watched my last video, part 1 of trying to make this thing, I had a craft fail. I tried to use gold leaf and silver flakes to help this prop out, and it didn't go well. Part of the problem was trying to use Elmer's glue, which I've since learned you can use Elmer's with things like gold and silver leaf, but it's not the best option. It created holes when I was just trying to rub the leaf down. I'm not going to use proper terminology here because I'm just diving straight in feet first with maybe an entire 5 minutes of YouTube browsing about how to use gold leaf. So this is DIY. I'm going to show you my DIY experience, my part 2 experience with trying to use gold leaf, and I now have silver leaf sheets. I would not wish using gold or silver flakes on my worst enemy. So unless you are experienced with gilding, I do not recommend working with the flakes. Working with the full sheet, much easier. Just trying to work with the flakes, they were blowing around. I'm not even exaggerating, just me breathing was blowing them around on my work surface. It was not a good time. So let's go ahead, jump right in. We're going to get to the meat and potatoes of the video. Let's see what we can do with this puppy. If you were here last time, you may be familiar with this. This is one of the 3 gold pens that I used to do my lettering and also to do this gold tree right here. I did also get some equivalent silver markers, but I didn't have them at the time that I did this. So this is actually silver Sharpie. And admittedly, I'm not mad at it. So I think I'm trying to decide the best way to move forward at this point. And honestly, it might be to try to color match this blue. I really just would like to clean some of this up. These don't look like stars to me right now. They look like blabs. I don't want blabs. So let's see if we can do a quick color match. I think that's as close as we're gonna get. That's pretty good, pretty accurate. Okay, let's do a speed run on this and see if we can fix it up a little bit. Time traveler Ellie here. I had some technical difficulties. My camera died and my mic died. So this is what we're going to do. Where we're going to pick up from here is I have already glued the foil onto my book and I have let it sit overnight, and I'm coming back the next morning to check on it. I had fully intended to show that part of the process, but because of the technical difficulties, I did go ahead and do designs on the spine. So you'll at least get to see what it's like while I'm applying the foil on the spine. As far as the part where I applied the foil to the front, I ended up figuring out that the touch-ups that I did with the blue paint, I didn't let that dry long enough before setting the foil onto the cover. The end result was that the foil stuck to the blue paint, which was not intentional, and it was kind of a hot mess. I tried scraping it off with a toothpick. I tried like just kind of stabbing the book with my paintbrush. I could not get it off. So I decided to grab my reference picture and I used more of the blue paint. I had to do touch-ups with that, so I ended up using more of the dark blue paint than I originally set out to use, but I think the prop still looks fine and I think it should still photograph fine. So I'm not too worried about it, but it did create some extra work. But like I said, I still wanted to show you at least something where I was applying the glue and applying the actual foil onto the book. And the spine was really the only part left at that point that didn't have foil on it. So that's where we're going to pick up. Let's talk about it. There were a lot of things with this project that did not go according to plan. The glue that I used for this project, when you apply it, it has a blue sheen. And then once it dries down and it's ready for you to apply the foil, it dries clear. So I highly recommend that glue. It was super easy to work with. I used my paintbrush to apply it and I didn't have any issues getting it out of my brush either. So that glue, if you're going to try this craft, to me is a must. This also felt like a very wasteful craft, and maybe that's because I'm inexperienced and I was feeling myself reach for the full, like, clean sheets of the foil, even though my design wasn't large enough to constitute using a fresh sheet, just because it was so much easier to work with that than to try to work with the little wrinkly, fiddly, breezy bits that had already been torn off. It was messy. The foils, to me, even the full sheets, were still challenging to work with, and you have to be ready to commit when you get it even close to your glue because it's going to stick like that. If I had this to do over again, I would have just stuck to using the chrome paint pens and the silver Sharpie. I wouldn't have bothered with the foils at all. That said, it was fun to work with something new. I've never done anything with this before, but for me, for a prop, for what I'm using this for, the pens would have worked fine. And I actually think I liked the results of the paint pens better than what I ended up with the gilding. But again, that could just be my inexperience showing. If you were going to use this on something that you intend to be an heirloom item, the gilding may be a better way to go, because I've seen that people varnish on top of the foil once it's set. So that could be a possibility. If I was going to use this for like an heirloom item, I'd probably go that route instead of the pens. But otherwise, I see myself maybe using these foils for one other project and probably never again after that. Even though it was challenging, I am still happy with the results, and I really feel like this is going to photograph well. And I may also try varnishing this project, but if I do, it'll be something I do later down the line, because I want to research that and find out what the purpose of that is in this context. I feel like the foil would stay put. To me, varnishing is usually some type of protection. Maybe it keeps it from changing colors, but in this context, I feel like that could be really cool. So I don't know if I want to varnish it just yet, but if I do, I'll share pictures of that over on my Instagram. So make sure you're following me there. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. And if you're interested in part 1, I'll link to that in the description below. If you'd like to see more content about sewing, self-awareness, I'm doing a no-buy challenge right now, or just some fantasy geek millennial lady and her cat, go ahead and subscribe. I'll be uploading videos most Fridays, and I'll see all of you ethereal little dumplings again real soon. Bye! This was a project that was supposed to be super simple, easy, quick, and here we are in part 2. So what does that tell us? Welcome to part 2 of this. This was supposed to be a quick and easy, wham bam, thank you ma'am type project. Hey. If I would have done this a little differently, we maybe wouldn't have to do this at all, but I didn't do it differently, so here we are. I swear this paper is not that old. Look at that hairstyle. Birdies. No. You notice my ear elf? My elf ear is backwards. I can only find one, and of course it's the wrong one. Does it look stupid that I'm opening it up to a blank page? Let's get to the meat and potatoes.